application here, however, her letter is on.
She's there, she is.
She's right here. Oh, you're a new member of our staff. Excellent.
I didn't know where you wanted me to sit.
Sorry for the demotion. All right, so Liz, you can come take the podium, and thank you for being here. Sorry to see you through the counters.
So basically, the reason I'm here is to ask for letters of support for a drive-on.
Actually, the podium, there's a microphone there.
Never mind, if you see something.
All right.
So the information that I gave you on basically we would like to install a new drive-on loading dock for product road for our vessels on the east side of the harbor. This is a $1.2 million project.
Right.
And we would be looking at replacing our existing ramp with one that's capable of putting up a 10-ton truck, and which would allow the trucks to go right down to where the vessels are unloading, so loading can take place immediately from the vessel to the truck. One of the reasons for looking into this is to support the Comox First Nations companies. I've got a letter of support from Salish Seafoods, which I'll read you a little bit of. The Comox First Nation has 3 agriculture-related corporations: Pentland Seafood, Salish Seafoods, and Salish Sea Farms. And from the details I've included, I can see benefits to all 3 corporations from the Comox Valley's newly anticipated floating landing dock in Comox Harbour. The majority of their product is unloaded at our facility, and right now we're confined to the wharfhead loading area, which is 40 by 60 feet in size, and everything that's offloaded must be done from the boat with the jerk and winch at the dock. So it's a very slow process. For their benefit, they have a period of time from the time the product is landed on the vessels after harvesting to get it to the dock and then into a refrigerated vehicle. So if they have to wait in the loading area, which happens often if there is conflicting commercial openings, often they will have to take the product back to the grounds again and leave it. There's a danger of bacterial contamination in the warm weather, which affects the product. So it has to go back in the water and can't upload within a 60-minute time frame. At this point in time, the Comox First Nation is applying for 6 new tenures from the BC government to culture dairy duck plans, which would be a huge expansion of the business. And again, it would be supported by them having an opportunity to unload. Our commercial fleet would also be using this area. We unload wild geoducks in the harbor. We unload sea urchins, shrimp, prawns, salmon. Big salmon fishery here locally in the river, and most of that product goes over our dock. And again, we've got wait times of hours for boats running off of the trucks to leave the facility. So anything that benefits the speed of the offload keeps quality of the product and gets things to market faster, which is a huge benefit. This project is about a $1.2 million expenditure, so we're looking for actually a letter of support. We'll be going to at least 3 funding agencies for money to complete this. And it's a benefit really to the whole community. I've included in your package, there's an excellent study that was done by Curtis years back, pages long, and it indicates that every dollar of harbor revenue results in $49 for your spending. So just that alone bringing back about $17 million in landed value to the community, which is, and providing jobs. If the Kent Latch expansion goes ahead, they feel it's going to generate over 150 new jobs. And I think that this is a boon to the community, so we would like your support.
Maybe questions?
Yeah.
If you finished your presentation, go ahead.
Could you tell me, you said you were asking for 3 different funding agencies. How much are you asking out of the Canada 150? Because
We're asking
for some too.
Yeah, we're asking for $500,000.
Okay, so so 250 would be your share, 250 would be their share. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
No, we would be asking for money from ICE-T and the Coast Sustainability Trust and putting in some funding ourselves.
Okay, so you're asking for the maxes.
Yeah, we
Okay.
would be asking for
Fair
that.
enough.
Right. Other questions, Councilor Rapp?
Yeah, thanks for that. One of the things that I've noticed down there is the big trucks that come down, they have to back up that whole way. Is there something perhaps that would be included in this to give them a little bit of a turnaround to make it more accessible to get the big trucks down there?
Unfortunately for the semis, there just isn't enough
Yeah.
room. The only place to turn around is our existing wharfhead, and it will not, it's not vehicle rated for a
Right.
semi-truck, it's vehicle rated for a truck.
So this wouldn't include anything like that?
It wouldn't include that. We would be looking again on this ramp of 5-ton trucks, and they should be able to have space enough on the ramp itself to turn around and come back out.
Anybody else here? No?
So my question was maybe more for Dawn than anybody, but how much money is in the Canada 150 grant? Because we want to get some money and we give you a letter of support on hurting our own cause here. We have this is my question. No?
42.5 million for the full Western Province.
Okay, and they wouldn't have any problem with one community applying?
In fact, they like that.
Okay. Okay.
More than merrier.
Good.
Well, it strengthens their ability to represent. I mean, the whole thing is about legacy and celebrating Canada's 150th anniversary.
Because I see this piece as really being beneficial to the piece that we're trying to do as well, but
Of course.
we don't want to hurt our own selves by supporting one and then losing ours. So, okay, fair enough.
There's a picture in your package as well as to what this will look like. This is one that's located up in Port Edward, Port Edward Harbour. So they're a fairly nice looking thing. They don't look too horribly industrial. And it would certainly assist in not only in unloading our own product, but attracting more fish and build vessels to this area, which would be a great thing for our economy, for jobs that we're doing. Basically every vessel that we have in our harbor is a little business, and it's providing employment for 2 to 5 people. So it's a huge economic driver.
Go ahead.
So another question then, would this impact any of the existing boats that are down there, or would you have to do a bit of dredging to push this over to the side so the boats can get in?
We don't have to dredge in that area. It would be the second finger in, so the new finger that we just put on immediately
Right.
adjacent to that. The beauty of that area is it's accessible easily from our causeway.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't pose a huge hazard to pedestrians or anything else that are out of the traffic area
Right.
there. And it would be, we would be removing the 90 feet of that finger and probably tacking it onto the end of H Road, which is one of the closest to breakwater.
Oh, I
So
see.
we shouldn't be displacing any vessels.
So the actual floating part of it, the wider part of it's going to be at the foot of that ramp?
Yes,
And there'll be a new ramp, I think.
there would be a new ramp there.
And will people still be able to walk up and down that ramp?
They normally come with a pedestrian access on the side.
Okay. Fair enough. So that's sort of in the area where Lido comes in with his boat to sail ashore.
That's right.
That area. Okay. Cool. Yep.
Well, I just know in talking with Richard Hardy from Pet Latch, this is a big deal to them. You know, to be able to come into Comox and offload with their plant up the street. It's a problem for them now that they run into all the time, and so I think this is would be a real good use of that kind of money. So.
Now, one time I know you talked about putting this ramp out at outside the breakwater. I take it that's off then.
We ran into a conflict when DND adjusted their fueling station there. So instead of being able to go straight out off our causeway, the new pilings and the new structure there actually took up the space that we needed. So the negotiations did not go well in trying to get them to put it on the other side.
No, I knew it was going to be a tough call. All right, so thank you for your presentation. We'll be discussing it shortly at our meeting if you wish to stay. We have then consider staff reports. First of all, on the Canada 150 grant application that has been put together by staff and incorporating elements of the waterfront marina park revitalization program that weren't previously included within the application to Island Coastal Economic Trust and Western Economic Diversification. So there is a memo there with a lot of detail that our Director of Finance has put together. We also have Al Baronis here, who's one of the consultants working with the town, and on relatively short notice, as you can see, they've put together this material and included an ask and found funds within our budget that we could allocate if, or to the extent that council wishes to do so on a 50-50 cost-sharing basis. And before the meeting, I did ask Mr. Baronis the time frame for this kind of grant application. He indicated to me that we would know by August. So if we do allocate within our budget, or reallocate within our budget the matching funds, we would know within the next 6 months easily whether or not it's a go. And so the concerns that many of us may have had around allocating funds to other things, perhaps we alleviate somewhat. So leave it at that, and then staff are looking for direction, and fairly short turnaround here between now and next Wednesday. That's what this special meeting. This Canada 150 grant had a very short time piece on it. I know staff put together a lot of material in a very short order, so I'll open for the floor for discussion, and we can decide how we want to proceed with resolutions, filling in the blanks, if you will. Yes.
Well, I just want to talk about the water feature slash splash park, I guess.
Yes.
Which I think this town wants. People talk about it all the time. I just don't know if that's the place to put it, right on the water like that. I'd like to see us have some other alternatives to put that, being that it's right on the water. You get a bit of a wind coming off the water, kids are wet, you get cold. I just think if it was somewhere in a little bit more, I think it would get a lot more use. And it might look pretty right there, but we want something to attract kids.
So
Is that going to do it?
maybe just a little clarification on your comment. In a little bit more, where
Well,
You're
around
talking
a
about
corner somewhere.
in the middle of town, or are you talking about in Marina Park?
Well, I mean, I'm open to that too. I think there's a lot of locations around town. The rec center being one of them. The park beside John's Independent Grocers is another one. Maybe we need to look a little bit broader in where we could put this water park. But if it was stuck that we were going to put it down at the marina, I don't know if right in front is the place to be.
There is, I guess, the possibility that it could be included, perhaps as a playground feature as well. Certainly, water parks are useful for certain times of the year, and otherwise they're used essentially as playgrounds. I do know that at least 2, if not 3, other agencies have indicated some interest in it, as long as it's down in Marina Park, namely the VIA, the Comox Rotary, as well as the Boys and Girls Club. Now, those are very preliminary discussions, and at this point, as you may recall, we just allocated a sum in our budget, and it would require funding from other sources. But, at this point, it's very early to say exactly where it would go. Within the vicinity of these areas that are identified on the schematic, I guess, is what we're talking about. It could be either part of the playground, it could be a separate standalone thing. The design obviously hasn't been done on it, so that's all I can offer at this time.
Yeah. Well, in looking at this whole thing, and I'm not adverse to maybe looking for a different location in here, although we did have many user group meetings on this whole concept, and to start moving it around may be problematic for other groups like the Nautical Days Committee, because you start taking park space and then it starts to impact what you're doing there. So there's some challenges there a little bit, although probably not insurmountable. But what I see with this whole plan, and something that I've thought sort of a lot of the time here, is that we're missing that draw to get people down here. Even when we do it, we're kind of counting on some shops and things going in there to be the draw. I think this is a little more permanent of a draw, especially in the summertime, where if you get kids down, that brings parents down, they bring their friends down, and all of a sudden you're creating that. So overall, I think that this is probably a good way to go. Whether that's the perfect location or not, I guess that could still be talked about. I think Al mentioned that what we're really doing here is applying for the dollars. We can make some of those changes after we get them. I assume that's correct with that, am I?
Within certain frameworks, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, right now, we don't even have a bubble diagram.
Yes.
It's just a general location. But this is it's one of those 30-day rush jobs, and we're both rushing to put this together. We have almost no time to do any real careful planning, so we're just working within the vitalization plan that you previously approved. The only comment I would make, this really is about money. We would, if it comes to a point where the plan doesn't look like it's something you want to do, or you want to really think that it should go somewhere completely different from it, you can still do it. It's just about money at the moment. We get 50 cent dollars. My first comment when I called Richard about this Canada 150, I said, Richard, this is recreational, park, the usual things nobody funds, suddenly available with some restrictions. I said, you could do 30% expansion on your rec center, or you could do, within $1 million max type of thing. So I did say that, this was a funding opportunity that went beyond what we're doing, but it came back that some work was already being done by Al Fraser on the water park, and then Steve picked up on it. He was very excited. I don't want to call it a water park. I don't really, I've seen these things at Granville Island and various other locations. So the splash park, it is an attraction. It will attract people. Just remember also, we're putting in with the anticipated funding, with all the packaging, we're doing a very nice new public washroom with shower facilities and sufficient room for children to change instead of having to struggle the way they're doing right now, the ones that are taking sailing training or playing down there. So there will be better facilities to get out if they get chilly, to get up and change, sort of thing. So there's lots of enhancements going there already.
And this could look, it doesn't necessarily have to be a full-on splash park. Say like in Courtney, it could be more of a fountain feature that kids can run through if they choose to. That kind of
I think there's lots of different
ways.
And right now, we're just doing some rough cost estimating with what Al has done, and what Steve knows about, and conversations we've had to fast track.
Right.
But it'll come back, of course, to you folks to say, well, how do we articulate, what will it look like, and how will it work, and all those sorts of details. There's a lot of function. I hate the word functional, but so far what we've done is one step beyond bubble diagrams.
Yeah.
The next step, when all the money's together, which is going to happen very shortly, we're going to get into, dealing with some of the concerns about, well, how do I get my motor on the, from my car to, we've got to solve a lot of little practical problems, and what's the interior space going to be? in these buildings, we've got to work through that as well. And you'll have inputs, and as well as the stakeholder committee that's been working with us. We'll go through them and come back to you. So this is really a bottom-up process. Just because we've done a lot of top-down doesn't mean this has to be just what we say is good for you. You actually drive it.
Thank you.
So with it then, we have to, for the money that we go through with this, it has to be within, with what you're saying, Mayor Ives, for the partnership funding, it would have to stay within the Marina Park area to get.
To my knowledge, that is the case, and nothing's been firmed up, but that's certainly an indication I had from those other three stakeholders, if you will,
Right.
that they're very keen to create something down at the waterfront. Of course, Comox Rotary has done a number of
Right.
projects down there, and nothing's been committed, but that was the hope. And really what we're doing here is potentially fast-tracking that in the sense of getting funding for it earlier. There's no guarantee, of course. They may give us part of this, but not all of it. But I think it's worth, at least from my perspective, putting it in this ask. And it does fit some of the criteria for the Canada 150. That kind of makes it a little more of a exciting project as opposed to just trees and landscaping.
Right. It's just my concern.
So that might give it more opportunity to be accepted.
Right. And if this is legacy funding, then we want to make sure we leave a good legacy and
Of
not
course.
just rush through and put this park right in front, and it's only used maybe 2-3 months a year, where we want to get people to come down there and engage them. Are we missing something else because we're in a hurry to get this down there? So are we missing something else that we can engage people 12 months out of the year?
I don't think you're going to find a water park that's going to be used 12 months.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So we're taking this piece of great property and putting a water park that's only going to be used a couple months out of the year. So we're only engaging people in the summer months. We want people down there.
Yeah, I mean, this is all part of a package. I mean, as you know, our standalone application is for other amenities down there, and there's subsequent phases that could be done as well. The water park is an element of it, and it could be, as I say, combined with a relocation of the playground. It's, at this point, very preliminary. The only reason why we're even considering this is because of the funding opportunity.
Yeah.
So if we get hung up potentially on where to put it and what it's exactly going to look like, we won't be able to put it in this application. Rather we would put it in the ask and then sort out some of those finer details later. If we got, the ask that we're asking for in terms of funding, I'm sure we do a really bang-up job with it no matter what.
Right.
So,
And I think it's a good idea having a water park,
Yeah.
but I just want to make sure we put it in the right place so it's used.
well, it has been identified within our capital plan, I believe, for Marina Park. So that's on the basis of council's capital plan and previous discussions. We haven't really addressed it going anywhere else. My recollection, anyway. Yes.
Plus, this will end up back at the user groups, as Al said, if we do get all the money, and we had, I can't even remember all the people we had in the room, but the place was full, and we had all of those groups sitting here. And so it'll go back to that if this happens. So again, there is room for some tweaking or moving around at that point, but it has to fit with all of those plans. So.
Somewhere in those bubbles.
Yep.
Anything further? Councilor Price?
Yes, so if we only get part of the funding, that would scale down what we put in too. We'd only be expected to put 50% in.
Yes.
And they could very well pick some of the elements that we've identified. We would put it forward as the different elements as shown in group 1 to 4.
Right. Really in terms of priorities, I think 1 to 4 reflect those priorities. The items in group 1 were ones that were not funded within you would have to do things like the hardscape and landscape and the site furnishings. Group 2 was a subsequent phase in terms of wayfinding that, again, the town would be looking after otherwise. And then, again, the water park and playground were also on the agenda, but further down the path in terms of things. So what we've got on tap right now is elements that would, if we got all of this, that would to a large extent, complete the components that we wanted to have for marina revitalization. There might still be subsequent phases of other buildings, but if we got this, this would be in addition to the 1.2 million that we've already identified and committed, hopefully with WED funding to come, a total now of 2.4. So we could double our money on this with minimal impact on our budget.
Yeah, and it seems like an incredible opportunity, and seizing the moment is always a good approach. I just picked up a slight reservation on the side of our treasurer on committing our full share.
Yes.
And so I guess it's a question for Don. So if we are lucky, if we do apply for the full amount, we are lucky and get it, do you think we can you shape the budget so that...
That's our job.
That's a direct question.
Go ahead.
The budget reallocations that I've put on the table for you are real. They're real savings and real things that you can reallocate without harming us in any way, shape, or form. My caution was, if you spend the money on this project, and then next week come back with something else you want to do, that money is gone.
Yeah, assuming it's approved, etc. It's going to be allocated or reallocated until we hear on this application, hopefully by August. But this is no different than any other grant program. Whether you're talking Build Canada or some of the other ones we've done in the past, you have to make a commitment. And yes, sometimes you end up chasing grants, right? And you maybe change your priorities a little bit to do that. I know other communities have complained about that at various conferences, but here, yeah, we're kind of chasing a grant a bit, but we're also, these are things that we were going to do. Now, maybe they get done sooner rather than later, which may be a good thing. But the plus side of this is that because of some of the early adoption of our budget and getting our projects done earlier, we did save some money. So we're achieving a possible win all around here to make this happen. There's no guarantees, but I guess it's what is council prepared to do to commit for the next 5 months instead of an election, which probably all do is generate these kinds of opportunities. And so that's it. Councilor Kennedy.
So from what I've heard through the discussion then is the splash pad fountain aspect of the project enhances the chances of our grant, we believe.
Well, that's Al's suggestion in terms of recreation.
If you read their guidelines, examples of strong projects could include, but not are limited to, the addition of a spray/splash park, playground, picnic shelter to an existing park. When they come up with an example that's like pie in their face, and you're presenting them, feeding them back what they're giving you a very strong hint, even though that is not the only thing you can do. There's trails and other things you can do, rec centers, with limitations. 30% expansion on existing construction, 30% expansion on existing infrastructure.
So thank you.
They're definitely looking for a legacy. And when I did discuss this with a WED officer, I always call them, even if they don't want to be called, I call them. And they're looking for legacy, and the complementarity of everything you're doing, including what you're planning, is very strong for them. In another project I'm doing, where we're doing, essentially a washroom, I get the question from the WED people, do you think this washroom building is going to be reflecting Canada's 150th very effective? Kind of hard to say. And here, after I described all the components, it doesn't mean, because I cited one officer, the way they work is that they do their sort and they go upstairs and who knows what happens after that. It's,
Well, and you don't have to look too far back in the history books to see that legacy projects have had some success in the town of Comox. The gymnastics facility, the recreation expansion, the library, of course, was another project. The skateboard park that we did with Courtney. Those were all funded, maybe not the library so much, but they were all funded with provincial or federal money. And because of a legacy effect on them, and a large tie-in with recreation. So sexy projects that politicians like to cut ribbons for. I mean, that's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, it's not so exciting to cut one for a washroom.
No? Weren't you just at a ribbon cutting before?
Not for a washroom.
So just in closing, thank you for that. And so we're optimistic. However, if we don't have good fortune to get the grant, maybe down the road, a water park location and partnering with partner groups maybe at another location in town, if we don't, if we're not successful in this.
Yeah, I mean, the water park project is in its infancy, it hasn't been designed across the road. Committed to by other stakeholders. All I can tell you is what I said earlier, is that those stakeholders that have expressed an interest want to see it downtown in the water park and the marina park areas. Be that as it may, I guess if council's ready, we can carry on with the resolutions or further discussion.
Would we want a motion?
Well, it's Councilor Grant may.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, now, one quick question as someone new to the grant world. Will this, if we're successful, thank you. If we're successful with Canada 150, does this affect our WD application at all? It doesn't? Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Good
on
question.
that.
It's a good question. No, it doesn't.
Okay,
So,
good.
Councilor Swift?
Do we have any idea when that Western Development funding will know if we got it?
It's
Ask the
pretty
mayor.
darn close. We received very favorable indications, but we can't say it's a done deal just yet.
Until it's
But I would expect sometime in the next month we will hear positive words. So we could be moving forward on that aspect of the project as early as this fall. But stay tuned.
Well, I just think this is an opportunity. I think we should go for it.
Okay,
Second motion.
motion to go for it.
Yeah.
Well, we need a more specific resolution. There's a set of resolutions there that our Director of Finance has provided for filling in the blanks in items 1 and 3.
So I guess my question is on number 1 then, if we wanted to do groups 1, 2, 3, and 4, is that the 500,000 we'd be looking for? How much is that?
No, 1,194,919.
The bottom line.
So page 5.
Oh, okay.
The total at the bottom of page 5 is 1,194,919.
Okay. And so I'm trying to figure out how to make this. I'm not sure what number I want to put in to do all those user groups here. Staff be authorized to submit. So what would we submit? 500,000?
No, we would submit a project costing 1,194,919.
And
Okay.
item 3 would be the reallocation of funds, and
Okay.
the number for that is 700,000, is it not?
Well, if you go for the full 1,194,000, then you've got 394,919 being reallocated.
Because we've already got
Because we've already got 300 for the water park.
Okay, so if Don fills in all those numbers and we want the 190, whatever the heck that was,
Okay, Don,
that's confusing.
Don, we'll start with number 1.
What do we need to put in there?
Well, let's do one at a time. 1,194,919 is for item 1. So is there a mover for that?
Second.
Discussion further? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Item 2 is already completed, so somebody carry with that.
Vote.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried.
So
Item
the numbers for item 3. So the 394,919 be reallocated, of which 319,919 is from the road repaving budget, 25,000 from engineering, and 50,000 from general capital reserves.
Okay, I'll move what he said.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes.
I just think it's a good opportunity, and it's been one of our primary focuses from the last council and into this, the revitalisation of downtown, including Marina Park. So if we can get 50 cents on the dollar, then it seems an opportunity that we should grab.
All right. Yes, indeed. You ready for the question? All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right. Thank you for all that. And staff for putting that together, and for Al Brown for being here.
Yes, thank you, Al.
And then we'll work diligently over the next week to get it done with staff and send it in appropriately. All right, item 2, this is just a recommendation from our acting CEO, and this is as a result of my other appointments that I've had recently fall into my lap. I find that my time at the regional district is becoming difficult to fulfill, and that's at solid waste and hospital, and I know that Councillor Margaret was there on one occasion, and certainly we can ask her to be there for tomorrow for those meetings, and then I'm going to be away in September and miss those meetings and one on those. So it was my suggestion that for the balance of this year that I step down and let Councillor Margaret be appointed as alternate director.
Could I just have one question here? So is she going to go to the solid waste and hospital?
Correct.
All the time then? And also become the alternate director? Is
Yes.
that what we're doing? Okay.
Same as I was doing.
Okay, I would move those 2 recommendations.
I second.
Any further discussion? I assume you're really kind of
Too late now.
get on the railroad. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Okay. Motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Margaret, and Council for supporting that. All right, and of course, as the last item here, a motion perhaps to receive this letter and provide the requested letter of support.
I would move that.
Second. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And staff will draft the appropriate letter for my signature so they can, again, meet that deadline. And thank you, Liz, there,
Thank you.
for your presentation, and good luck.
Yes, I should say.
All of us.
You see the lights still on down there, all hours of the day. Night, all day.
And that concludes our agenda, and motion to adjourn would be in order.
Second.
In favor?